You guys loved my last Jiffy Mix video, so we are doing another one with some more recipes. These boxes of Jiffy Mix are so inexpensive. They come in regular, honey, vegetarian, all different options. But if you don't like Jiffy Mix, or if you don't like that kind, there are other ones available in the grocery store. And if you stay to the end of this video, I'm actually gonna show you how you can make a Jiffy Mix box, how you make the mixture for that. So if you don't like these, don't have it on hand, you can still make these recipes by waiting to the end of the video to see that. We are going to make maple corn cakes. Now, I make these a little bit different because I personally don't like corn inside of things. So we prefer corn on the side. I don't know, it's a weird thing that we have, okay? Just bear with me. But feel free to add corn into this recipe if that's what you wanna do. So it's really a play on cornbread, but it's different because you're serving it like a pancake with maple syrup. So delicious. Also, it's a great option too if you have somebody in your family that is gluten-free, but you could add something like an almond flour or a gluten-free flour or something like that. So we are gonna make a full box because one thing that I found is if you make up the batter, it's actually completely fine for a couple of days in the refrigerator. We leave it in there and then we'll just pull it out and make pancakes in the morning for breakfast. And we do this a lot with pancake batter. We'll make it the night before so we don't have to get up quite as early to make the pancakes the next day. Feel free to do that as well. Add the whole box into this. Add the whole box into your bowl. It's a bowl. We also need to add a 1/4 cup of all-purpose flour, but feel free to add cassava flour, almond flour, whatever kind of flour your family likes. So 1/4 cup into that. I've got 2 eggs. We're going to go ahead and beat these in this bowl and then add them in. Okay. And whisk the eggs together. Now we can add the eggs into our mixture. This is not going well. We need to add a 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 2 tablespoons of maple syrup, and mix all of this together. Now, this is where you can also add in some corn if that's what you wanna do, but like I said, we pass on that. Okay, so I just tried something to go with this recipe. It's supposed to be a little thicker on the consistency of the batter, but I'm gonna just try something. I added in a little bit of buttermilk, so it's a little bit of a thinner consistency, still decently thick though, okay? So that's what you're looking for. And now we're gonna make these. We are going to use our, it's just like our little pancake griddle that folds up. It's nice and convenient. You don't have to actually put butter on this thing. I'm not even sure you're supposed to put butter on it. I think it's like naturally non-stick. I'm using the butter out of my butter crock. And we are going to make these pancake things. Dropping our batter into the center there. Obviously, you can make these as large or as small as you want to. I don't really have a size preference for these. I think they're just gonna be good. I actually just realized that I took our spatulas to church the other night when we had dinner, and my mom took them home to wash them. So I don't have spatulas in our house right now. So we're gonna use a pie cutter. Yeah. My husband brought me the one for the grill. Okay, so I think it's ready to flip. This is very hard to maneuver. Oh my goodness. Nice. Whew, okay, that was on my arm. All right, let's add some butter to the top and then maple syrup. All right, let's give these a try. That's pretty good. You have a sweet and savory effect, which is really neat. So it's kind of like a breakfast food, kind of like a dinner food. I like this. You have a different texture, obviously, because it's cornmeal and it's not just flour or pancake batter, but this is a great option if you want something a little bit different. My family is currently devouring these corn cakes. They love them. We are going to start this recipe, which is a cheesy broccoli cornbread by spraying cheesy broccoli cornbread by spraying this baking dish. I am making a half recipe of this because we just don't need the full amount. So just know that. I'm also gonna be making some other things, so this isn't just gonna sit in my pantry. The last video that I made like this, there were people that were very concerned that I cut down the recipe using Jiffy Mix, but y'all, it's okay. You can make it however you wanna make it. We are gonna add half of the box of this Jiffy Mix here. And this is kind of an eyeball thing. I mean, obviously you can measure it out and make it exact if you want. My oven is currently preheating to 375 degrees. We're gonna make up some stuff in this bowl right here. To this bowl, I'm gonna add a little bit of cottage cheese. I'm only using a 1/4 cup because we're cutting this recipe down, but feel free to use more, obviously, if you're making the full box of Jiffy Mix, and I will have that recipe in my description box. If you're not familiar with where the description box is, if you look below this video, there's a thing that it has like a title, and then right below that there starts to be a description, and it says something like read more or see more. Everything is listed in that description box, all recipes, everything that I use in this video. There's very helpful information there. We are going to add 1 egg. And let's mix this until it's blended well. I thought my beaters were out here somewhere. So, oh, I put them in the dishwasher. We're just gonna hand mix it, okay? You can absolutely use your beaters and blend this, but I think it's honestly really fine. So obviously if you use your, like your KitchenAid mixer or your beaters, it's probably gonna mix a little bit better. I'm not worried about it. Even like when I make eggs, I love to throw some cottage cheese in there because it's just so good. Like cook with the cottage cheese. It's really delicious that way. I have just over a tablespoon of butter. We're going to melt this in the microwave and then mix that in. Now we're gonna mix this into the cottage cheese and the egg. I just wanna make sure it's not too hot so it doesn't like start to cook the egg or anything. We do need to add some cayenne pepper. If you don't like spice though, you can absolutely skip that portion. So we're just gonna add this in. Let's mix it up. I'm just adding a touch, just the slightest little bit. It really doesn't take much at all because cayenne is pretty strong. But again, feel free to leave that out if you're not a fan, if that's just too much for you. Also, this is where you would want to add onion. If you are a fan of onion, you wanna chop that up nice and small little bits and go ahead and add that small little, what do you call that? Diced onion, and you can add that in. We need to add in the cornbread mixture or the Jiffy Mix. And then another thing that I'm gonna do is chop up some broccoli. Now I'm gonna cut this pretty small so that we don't have, you know, really big chunks of broccoli, but you can do it however you wanna do it. And I'm probably gonna end up with maybe like a 1/2 cup or so. I would say for something like this, you should add however much you love, okay? So this is a really easy way to get some vegetables into your meal. It's not a ton, it's just a little bit, and it's gonna add good flavor and nutrition and stuff like that. Super easy. You can also use frozen broccoli if that's your preference. I pretty much always go for fresh vegetables if it's available. There's actually a recipe. I didn't realize peaches are not in season right now, so I planned a recipe with peaches and couldn't find them anywhere. All right, let's add in this broccoli. Again, I would tell you to add whatever amount of broccoli you want. We will start to mix that together because I wanna see if I wanna add more broccoli or not. No, I think that's probably good. The oven is ready. You know what? I'm gonna add a little bit more. Why not? And we are going to add some cheese. Normally, you guys know I shred my own cheddar cheese, Kerrygold cheddar, on a weekly basis almost. But we actually made a really big meal the other night and I happen to have some of this Mexican cheese left over. So I'm just gonna use some of that. We need just a little over a 1/4 cup. Mix that. Let me get all this out of here. And we are going to pour this into this 8-inch pan. I honestly could probably use, I have a smaller one that's like a 6-inch pan, I believe. Let's see how this looks. I'm not gonna dirty another pan. It might be a little thinner than your typical cornbread, but that's totally okay. I'm not worried about it. I mean, this seems very thin to bake it for 30 to 40 minutes. Y'all, I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it. Listen, small recipe or not, I don't wanna ruin it. So we are gonna use this pan, which is what is this? It's called a 3 cup, 7 by 5 by 1.5. I will just wash a dish. It is no big deal. I'm gonna transfer this. Also, you might wanna use more butter too. It's totally up to you. You guys know, if you've been here for a while, then you know that I count macros. So a lot of times I'll cut down the amount of butter or, different things like that, just depending on how much fat grams I have left in the day. Okay, yeah, this looks a lot better. I think this is gonna be good. I feel better about this. I'm still not quite sure this is gonna take 30 to 40 minutes. I'm gonna set a timer for 20 and then we will see how it looks at 20 minutes. All right, broccoli cheese cornbread. Really good flavor. I'm actually a fan of broccoli, so I enjoy that. You can taste the cheese, which is awesome. Adds that extra element to the cornbread. I like it a lot. If I'm being honest, I actually like this better than regular cornbread. Now, I do think you could go a little more on the heat. If you like heat, add a little bit more than I did. I didn't want it to be too much. I wanted to make sure it would be okay. So I honestly think you could. We are going to use some more of our corn muffin mix to make some rosemary sage biscuits. The first thing that I need to do to get this started is preheat my oven. It's actually gonna go to 425 for this recipe. I've got some sage here and some rosemary that I've just pulled off of a little herb. And we're going to cut this up. We're gonna chop it up nice and fine, but first I wanna get the rosemary leaves off. And just put them here, taking the stems off. A little bit of thyme got in there. I just picked up one of those poultry seasoning packs that has rosemary, sage, and thyme. So feel free to do that as well. And we're just gonna chop this up. We want it to be nice and fine. This needs a bigger knife. I'm dividing this recipe in half, so overall we need about a 1/2 tablespoon or so of herbs. This is probably a little closer to a tablespoon, but I'm okay with that. We like a lot of herb flavors, so we're completely fine with that. That's now ready to go. Let's get a mixing bowl so we can do everything else. If you're doing the full recipe, you need 2 cups of corn muffin mix. I'm just gonna use 1. And because I am doing a half recipe, we're gonna add about an 1/8 cup of all-purpose flour. So we'll just do half of our 1/4 cup measurer here. To that, we need to add about a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And then we're gonna add in all of the herbs that we chopped and we'll whisk that together. And I'm just gonna use a fork to whisk this together. Feel free to use whatever tool you love. Also, feel free to make the full amount of this recipe. So we are having smoked ribs. My husband is actually smoking ribs on the grill tonight. I'm very excited, and I thought this would be really good as a side. We're having some other sides as well, but this could be a really good side option to go with that. We don't need 12 biscuits. 6 will be fine for our family of 4, so that's why I'm cutting this one in half. Okay, so this is nice and mixed together. I have some very cold butter here. I'm going to take 3 tablespoons and just cut that out. And then we're gonna cut that up and add it into the mixture. This is the part where you gotta work kind of fast so that your butter doesn't warm up too quickly, and then you no longer have very cold pats of butter. But this butter, I love this Kerrygold butter, you guys. We've been buying it for a long time, but I don't know if it's because there's less preservatives or anything like that in it, but I feel like it does melt a lot faster. So we do work rather quickly when we make these. Okay, so I'm just cutting this into little pieces that I feel like will be easy to add in here, and then, what do you call it? Well, I was gonna use a pastry cutter, but if you were here the last time I used my pastry cutter, you saw that it just popped open and completely broke, and I haven't purchased a new one because I always forget that stuff. So we're just gonna use our fork, which is a great kitchen tool, by the way. And we're just going to combine this in, kind of crumbling it in to the recipe. You can do this with your hands too, if you're more comfortable with that, if that's easier to do. Just using the fork and pressing that in. Tell me in the comments below as I'm doing this, what is your favorite kitchen tool? Do you always use the proper instruments? Are you like me and you'll reach for your regular eating utensils regularly because they're like the perfect size for stuff like this? Or do you always have the right cooking utensils? I definitely do not. I mean, we have quite a few cooking utensils, but more often than not, I will just reach for a regular spoon or a regular fork to get the job done. All right, we are now switching to fingers to get everything nice and crumbly, and this is working so well. It's amazing to me how sometimes you can have all the kitchen tools under the sun, but your God-given hands will do such a great job. Okay, so that's nice and combined. Let me wash up. I've got some buttermilk here. Feel free to make your own buttermilk. It's not very hard to do. You can either add a little bit of lemon juice to just regular milk, or you can add vinegar to regular milk, but I did go ahead and buy buttermilk because I have several recipes that need it. We are going to end up adding just under a 1/4 cup for this recipe. So we're going to just pour that in, and then I'm gonna use my fork again to just mix that together. The dough is gonna be pretty tacky, which is completely fine. That's what we want. Okay, we are going to cover this, and I'm gonna let it chill in the refrigerator for about 10 minutes. Where are my hairnet cover things? Hang on. If you've never purchased these, I always have the link in my description box to my Amazon store. You can get a pack of 50 of these hairnets for like $3 or $4, I think is what I bought them for. And they work so much better than regular plastic wrap. I mean, exponentially better. I don't even want to buy plastic wrap at all anymore because I think it's terrible. If you have a round shaped bowl or a bowl that these will fit on, I will go for these every time. And I will use them a couple of times because they're honestly fine. Like I just keep them stored right up here. But I've had the same pack of 50 for well over a year, and we're maybe halfway through them. It is just so much better than plastic wrap. So anyway, now that I've ranted about that for a little while, this is gonna go in the refrigerator for 10 minutes to just chill in there, and then we're gonna make the biscuits. All right, at this point, we are going to take you want them to be about a 1/4 cup, and we're just gonna, I'm just gonna use my finger to take that off of there. It's kind of like drop biscuits. You don't need, they don't need to be fancy. Place them about 1 inch apart. If you make the full recipe, like I said, you're gonna get 12 biscuits. I'm probably gonna get, I don't know, 5, 6 biscuits. I'm making them a little bigger. I'll probably get 6. Okay, my oven is currently preheated to 425 degrees. These are gonna go in for 12 to 14 minutes. We're definitely gonna watch the 12-minute mark and see how they look. All right, these biscuits are done. Great flavor. I love all the herbs in there. I like the texture, or what would you call that? Maybe like the density of them. They're not really like heavy. These are very good and a great option. Came together super quick. So if you're looking for a biscuit option for dinner, this is really, really good. First of all, this box right here is about 89 cents. I'm pretty sure that's what I paid for it at Publix. They also have, I saw they have a honey one. They have one that says vegetarian because there is lard in this one. It obviously contains wheat. It doesn't say that it contains soy, but this is very easy to make, okay? So if you do not prefer to use Jiffy Mix because maybe you're ingredient conscious or maybe there's something on here that you're just not comfortable with, it has a couple of ingredients that are added in and you wanna make your own, it is very easy to do that. Very, very easy to make one of these boxes. So we are going to do that today. And I'm gonna be using this cornmeal right here. I love this brand, by the way. This is not sponsored in any way, shape, or form, but Bob's Red Mill is just such a good brand. I'm very comfortable with their ingredients. Like, this is organic whole grain corn. That's it. Bob's Red Mill has one of the best granolas I've ever tasted in my entire life. If they ever discontinue it, it's like this maple something. I'm gonna have it on the screen. If they ever discontinue it, I don't know what I'm gonna do because it is so good. It's so good. I can't even begin to tell you how good it is, okay? It's delicious. So we're gonna be using this cornmeal right here. So I don't really feel like you have to sift it, but I like to pretty much sift anything that I'm putting into a baking mix just to make sure there's not any clumps or anything like that. This was an organic bag and it was one of the more expensive brands, I guess you could say. This entire bag, I think, was $5. So yes, this is much cheaper, but in comparison, you would probably get 7 or 8. You actually would probably get 10 servings of this from this. So we need a half cup of this cornmeal. And we're just gonna pour it right into here. We need to add 2/3 cup of flour. And if you're curious, I use the King Arthur baking flour. This is their unbleached organic white flour, and y'all, it is so good. It makes my sourdough bread turn out perfectly every time. And I don't know if it's necessarily the flour, but I never have an issue with this at all. And I buy, every time it's on sale, I buy a lot of it and we store it in the freezer because it's definitely not a cheap flour. Sometimes Publix or Harris Teeter will do buy one, get one free. And I grab as many as they'll let me buy. We need 3 tablespoons of sugar. And I am just using the sugar that we always buy. We buy it actually in bulk at Sam's Club. It's the Wholesome brand and it's that natural cane sugar. So it's a little bit, the granules are a little bigger, but I've never had an issue with this in ever, like any type of baking or anything, just because the granules are bigger. We're gonna add 1 tablespoon of baking powder. I believe that I got this one from Thrive Market. I don't remember, but this is the main reason why I have the sifter, because if we ever use baking powder or baking soda, I wanna make sure we don't get any clumps into that recipe because it's disgusting when that happens. We need 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And you also can go ahead and add the oil in here if you want. You can go ahead and add 2 tablespoons of oil and mix it all together. If you don't add it, you just might want to make yourself a note that you didn't add any oil so that you know when you go to make that recipe that you'll add it. All right, that is it. We'll put it into a container that locks. You can obviously take a whisk and whisk this together if you would like, but I'm just gonna put it into the container and then I'm gonna put the lid on and then I'm gonna shake it up. And there you go. You have your homemade Jiffy mix with, I believe, what was this, 4 ingredients. And if you're ingredient conscious, there's 2, 3, 4, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. I think I counted 20. I'm pretty sure that's 20 ingredients. This one is 4. So that's it. That's all you gotta do. It's so simple and easy to use. Our verse today comes from Colossians 3, starting at verse 12. Put on then, as God's chosen ones, holy and beloved, compassionate hearts, kindness, humility, meekness, and patience, bearing with one another, and if one has a complaint against another, forgiving each other, as the Lord has forgiven you, so you must also forgive. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you need more Jiffy Mix inspiration though, I already have a video here on my channel that's got 3 additional Jiffy Mix recipes in it. You don't want to miss it. In addition to that, there are so many more videos here on my channel that have tons of kitchen inspiration. So if you are looking for a recipe, you are in the right place. Hope you're having a great week.